Hey, I'd be curious to know what you feel the job of a realtor is, whether you're buying or selling. And I, of course, understand that there is a definition from the Real Estate Council of Ontario of duties owed, and I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is what you think a realtor should do for you. And I'm a pretty simple guy. I like to break everything down to as simple as I can. And I really see that there's two roles of a realtor. One is an educator. We are educators. I always want to come from a place of education. I want to educate you, let you know your options, and empower you to make the best decision for yourself and for your family. Second of all, it's protect you. It's protect you at through writing the offer. It's protecting you through getting as much information as we can. And sometimes we even have to protect you from yourself. And I'm going to give you a little story here. So a couple of years ago, I was working with a first-time buyer couple. They had a little baby, and we had found this lovely little country property. It was a multi-unit, so it actually had two other income suites in it, aside from the main dwelling in the house. So that was going to serve a couple purposes, help them buy a little bit more house with property, which is what they wanted. And then, of course, it would give them a little bit of extra income, right? I mean, that's pretty awesome. So, anyways, they came from a very experienced investor family. So, there was a lot of knowledge. We had the parents go through the house, and the father owns a construction company. So they really they know their stuff, and so there was really no issue. They felt with home inspection, there was nothing that they felt was going to be a deal killer. So they instructed me to put in an offer with no conditions. So no financing condition, no home inspection. But again, it was a country property, so it was on well and septic. So in this case, I suggested to them that we do a well and septic inspection. Even though the father who owned the construction company was extremely knowledgeable, well and septic wasn't necessarily his area of brilliance. So I suggested that we get a professional in. Anyways, they wanted to go totally firm. I convinced them that we should put in a well and septic clause, and we did, and we negotiated that out. And the seller was cool with it. The seller's agent was cool with it. They still weren't sure whether they were going to execute on it, but I mean, at the end of the day, what I told them is this: is that any inspection, be it well inspection, home inspection, septic inspection, it's to establish a baseline of the property, to let you know where it's at from the time you take possession of it and move in. So anyways, we were winding down. We had a 5-day conditional period for the septic and well inspection. They decided the day before the last day that they were going to book something and get somebody in so they could sort of get it looked at and kind of see where it was. So the day we were due to waive, we were there first thing in the morning. We had the septic inspector there, and they were having a look. They popped the caps off. Wow, we found out that for one, the size of the actual holding tank was substandard for what was needed for the property because it was a multi-unit dwelling. And for two, the weeping tile system was not at all operational, and it hadn't been for quite some time. There was a bunch of collapsed pipes, and there was clogging and all this sort of stuff. It wasn't working. But even more interesting, it was discovered that the seller had obviously known this, and they had trenched a line across the tile bed, which was not operational, right into the ditch, like the public ditch, right? So again, country property, so there was actually ditches there. So of course, I mean, the property required a full redo of the septic system, which was at a cost that was prohibitive, based on where we were under contract at, and we couldn't work out the details of renegotiating. So at the end of the day, as a realtor, sometimes we even have to save you from yourself. So I know truth is stranger than fiction, and there's some really crazy stories out there. I'd love to hear some stories that maybe happened when you were buying or selling.